What's up, everyone? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Today is Tuesday, June the 9th. Overall markets are gapping up currently, right back up in towards our previous day highs. Yesterday, we did put in an inside bar day, which we were expecting. We'll talk about the levels coming into market open here in a second. What's up, everyone? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. What's up, Andy? B Roots. What's up, everyone? Kelvin P1. What's up, everyone? Um, see the chat moving. Oh, I had like a little bot. What's it called? The scammer in the chat. Just a quick reminder. If anyone messages you via WhatsApp, I'll personally never message you first asking for any money. So if that's the case, if anyone's messaging you on Instagram, Twitter, whatever it may be, right? That's not me asking you to deposit money via crypto or anything along the lines. If it sounds like a scam, it's most likely a scam. What's up, everyone? Deuce, Knight. What's up? Last Friday sell-off was another overreaction. Yeah, we're expecting that, right? Kind of bounce into a key level support. The game plan coming into this week was looking for a bounce earlier into the week. As you can see, so far, we're kind of getting that here. We ended up having a nice bounce yesterday in the pre-market. Yesterday's morning session drop to bounce right off the bat. SPY is a little bit weaker. You can see SPY's actually in between its previous day's range. Came back down into that previous day lows. Q's back at our previous day highs. SMH is actually above our previous day high. So a couple of things to talk about here coming into market open. Let's go on to the economic calendar here. A lot of fake accounts in Discord. So yeah, as well as Discord. Discord's, I think, one of the worst ones. As soon as you join, there's usually a lot of people messaging right off the bat with a bunch of fake accounts. So if you guys ever join the Discord, right, that's just a quick reminder, right? We'll never message you first. All right. With that being said, let's pull up the economic calendar. For today, we don't have any red folder news. We do have some tomorrow. That's going to be 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Core CPI month over month. We also have the core CPI year over year as well. And then on Thursday, we have the core PPI. That's going to be at 8:30. And then we also have the unemployment claims. And then Friday, we have the prelim consumer sentiment, which is at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Oh, also as well, we do have the ebook that came out yesterday. If you guys haven't registered for that, that is in the description below. The first link in the description. We have the ebook. We have the masterclass that's coming out as well in about a week or so, and then we also have some other exciting things as well. But that's going to be in the description. First, top link in the description. At least it should be. Let's see. Yes, it's there. All right, with that being said, there's not too much going on the red folder news wise until tomorrow, of course, with the CPI. As for some of the earnings that we have coming to this week, there's not really too much to talk about. Oracle, it's going to be Wednesday after close. That's really the main one, as you can see here. Everything else, there's really not too much else to talk about. But with that being said, let's hop straight into the charts. Starting off with, of course, the major indices, the QQQ. Let's start off here on the daily time frame. So if we go on to the NQ, let's start off here on the NQ. As you can see, the double bottom is so far being held. Buyers are now stepping in. Next key level is going to be that previous day highs. So I talked about this a little bit yesterday in my kind of game plan coming to the rest of the week. But what we like to see is the reaction that we have off that previous day high level. If we can get above it, we can see a push all the way back up in towards our all-time highs here. If we reject off our previous day highs, then potentially you can see a push down in towards our last week's lows and create some sort of head and shoulders here on the higher time frames. And this is still technically in play. If we do reject hard off that previous day highs, we could see a potential move back down in towards that previous day lows. So we're not out the blue yet, especially if we want to reclaim back above. So key levels today is fairly clear here. It's going to be the previous day highs, break above, hold for continuation back towards the upside. If we come up and reject off this area and fade back towards the downside, then I'd still be somewhat neutral here. I wouldn't say I'm overly bearish if this is a scenario that happens. I'd say I'm a little bit more bearish if we break underneath our previous day lows and we hold underneath that level, right? The pop and fade above our previous day highs, we're still in this case building up higher lows. So we very much well could kind of pop coming to market open, kind of reject, and then kind of build up higher lows and continue back towards the upside the rest of the day. So main key levels, you just want to keep an eye on this previous day highs and of course this previous day lows. It's going to be our 29,690 and that 29,400. If we're looking at the QQQ, you can see this a little bit more clear. What we have here is the day that we had on Friday. Of course, yesterday's price action, we have an inside bar day. What we like to see here now, break above, retest for continuation towards the upside. We do have this very minor gap that we're going to create up about 0.8% in the pre-market. So let's say if we want to reject, kind of fill the gap right off the bat, bounce off our previous day lows, we can be looking for the reclaim setup back towards the upside here on the Qs. So this is what we have on Tesla. This is what we have on the QQQ today. So we're looking for that previous day high break and retest or the previous day low bounce for this continuation back towards the upside. If let's say, for example, as I mentioned earlier, if the markets do want to reject off this previous day highs, which we could very much well come up, reject, then we can see this potential push down in towards our previous day close, which happens to be that 716. So we can be looking for a pop and fade off this level. This would be more so of a scalping trade towards the downside, right? You'd just be looking for this kind of reversal back down in towards that previous day close, or I would be more inclined to shorting the markets underneath our previous day lows for a push towards the downside, something like this, or underneath that 714, looking for a move all the way back down in towards our gap fill that we created, plus that 700 here on the higher time frame. So this is what it looks like for the QQQ coming to market open along with the NQ. If you go onto the SPY chart, the SPY is just a little bit weaker compared to the Qs, but similar thesis here on the SPY. So far, we're seeing some nice buyers off our double bottom, which is that 73.50. Now the key levels that I have marked out is going to be that previous day highs and also the area that we broke down from, which happens to be our 75.50. So on the ES, so far we're having that initial bounce. Key levels that we're going to have marked out is going to be that previous day highs along with that previous day lows. So what we're going to have marked out here is our 74.60s along with our 74.20s. If we want to see continuation today above our previous day highs, hold continuation towards the upside, or now the bounce play off our previous day lows for a pushback towards the upside here as well. Short scenario, pop and fade. Or now the best short scenario underneath our previous day lows, hold underneath that previous day lows for the continuation towards the downside underneath that 74.20. If we're looking at this on the SPY chart, key levels that we have marked out is our 744 along with our 738. Pop and fade for continuation lower are now underneath our previous day lows for a push down in towards all the way back down in towards our last week's lows, 734. Upside on the SPY is now going to be above our previous day highs, which is at 744 for a pushback towards the upside, or it'll be some sort of previous day low bounce for a pushback towards the highs here as well. All right, with that being said, I went over the SPY and Qs. The Qs is what you want to keep an eye out for today. It's a little bit more cleaner, and the charts or the levels are being respected a little bit more. So keep an eye out on the QQQ, the previous day highs and that previous day lows. If we're looking at the SMH is so far starting to find a nice bounce right off this 580. You can see higher lows are being built. Now the key levels that we have marked out is going to be that previous day highs, which currently we're trying to break above, hold above that previous day highs, potential room back up in towards our all-time highs. So for the for the SMH coming into today, mark out that previous day highs level. What we like to see is maintain above that previous day highs, hold above for a push back towards our 620 and potentially 630 here on the higher time frame. So this is basically the area that we broke down here on Friday. So the SMH is already bouncing nicely. This is our Friday's highs. This is our previous day highs. Now we like to see this flip and use this now as support for continuation back towards upside. So that's what we have on the SMH coming into market open here today. Let's go on to some other tickers here. The IWM still holding up fairly nicely, right? Higher lows, more so on the higher time frames, but higher lows are being built on the daily. Now we like to see the reclaim back above that 288 for that push back up in towards our all-time highs. Key level here on the IWM, as I mentioned, 287, basically this 288 general area. This is the area that we broke down from, reclaim back above, push back up in towards our all-time highs. All right, with that being said, let's head on to some of the tech names that we have coming into today, starting off with Tesla. We'll make our way down. If you guys do have any charts or any tickers, you guys can now drop them in the chat. If you guys are enjoying this so far, appreciate if you guys drop a like and sub. If you guys haven't joined the free daily watch, that of course is in the description below. If you guys haven't joined the ebook, that's the top link in the description below. That one was released yesterday. Had to quickly get a 2-to-1. You can use TradingView, right? The risk to reward is something that's right. You can usually use a fixed risk to reward. If you're trading options, you usually always want to base it off of key levels. So I usually on my YouTube videos, I just kind of mention, right, a 1 to 2 fixed, just to explain it very basic and very basic terms on the YouTube video. But if you're looking for levels to scale at, it's always going to be key levels on the charts. So you want to, sometimes your trade might be like a 1-to-1. Let's say if it hits hive day, it comes back down, stops you at break even. Or let's say if it has continuation, that trade might run right 3, 4, 5 hour, depending on if it does have continuation or not. Oh, yo, bro, I want to follow you on what, but you never answer. I'd like to know if you trade primarily options, right? Futures every once in a while, but primarily options. What are your 3 indicators? These are just some basic EMAs. I have the 9 and 21. And then I also have usually VWAP intraday. So starting off here on Tesla, let's look at this here on the higher time frames. Key levels that we have marked out is our really this 420. So yesterday, as I mentioned, we kind of had this downtrend break, broke underneath it, came all the way back down, and you can see buyers actually stepped in, right? Overall markets really yesterday for Tesla. Right, cues, I'd say we had a pretty bearish, not bearish close, but we ended up selling off into close. Tesla was the one that had some relative strength yesterday. Key levels that we have marked out is the area that we broke down from, which happens to be our 415. As you can see, we have multiple touches here, break underneath that 415. Now we like to see this flip back above our previous day highs for this pushback towards the upside here on Tesla. So this is the area that we broke down from. Coming to today, key level, previous day highs, break and retest above our previous day highs. We have room back up and towards that 424 and above here on Tesla. So keep that in mind coming into today. We're going to be looking for that break and retest above our previous day highs. As for NVIDIA, this one's been lagging behind compared to the overall markets. We had a little bit of a bounce yesterday, inside bar day so far here on NVIDIA. The higher time frames, of course, we're going to have to reclaim back above that 210. If we're looking at this on the lower time frames, key levels today is going to be that 210. Previous day highs, you can see a little bit more reaction off of our previous day highs in the pre-market. If we want to see any sort of continuation higher, the reclaim setup is in play for a pushback towards the upside. If we reject off this level, we can see a push down in towards our previous day lows. As I mentioned, NVIDIA has been a little bit more weaker the past 6 months to a year. Key levels, let's keep an eye on that previous day highs if you want to see continuation. If we're looking at something like AMD, a lot more of a clear uptrend. Every single dip so far is being bought up. We talked about the bounce on AMD on Friday. This is our previous all-time highs. Nice break, now retest. We want to see that continuation back up in towards our all-time highs here. Key levels on AMD is going to be our really this 488. So 488 here is key. We can readjust this if we'd like, but I just like this 488, multiple touches, rejection here on Friday once we got back underneath, rejection right at the beginning of yesterday, just more consolidation. So today, with it being above our previous day highs, what I like to see now on AMD is the hold of this 488 for a pushback towards the upside. Another possible scenario, right? Similar thing, that previous day high bounce, or now longs above our pre-market highs in this 504 for a pushback towards the upside here as well. So that's what we have on AMD. You can see now it's flipping back above this 490. So it's reclaiming back above this key level. Let's see if we can get that push back up in towards that all-time highs. You kind of have this like mini, I wouldn't consider this like an inverse head and shoulders, but above that 490, it's essentially that reclaim back above for continuation higher. Plus the daily chart, as you can see here, is building up higher lows, bouncing right off a key technical level 460. As for Apple, this one had, of course, the WWDC event yesterday. A little bit of a sell-off, kind of had a reaction off our all-time highs. A bigger pullback now on Apple. Key levels that we have marked out is this 300. This is our first sign of weakness in the past few months here on Apple. You can see every single down candle was fairly neutral. This is the first sign of weakness. Broke underneath its previous candle low and had a very weak candle closure back down in towards that 300. This looks like a weekly candle, based off of how big the candle is in itself, compared to, as you can see, the whole previous week's range. So in one day, Apple eclipsed the whole past 2 weeks worth of range. Right now, it's right back down in towards our 300 key levels that we have marked out. Yeah, it's basically this 300 here. That's our 21, our previous level of consolidation. Let's see if any buyers can step in here on Apple for potential pushback up in towards our, now it's going to be this 308 along with this 316. As for Google, this one looking solid here, more so on the weekly chart. Let's see if any buyers can step in here off that 350 for a pushback up in towards our all-time highs. Intraday, not too much to talk about. Similar thing here on Microsoft on the weekly. A lot of the Mag 7 names are kind of lagging behind, right? Meta, you have Amazon, you have Microsoft, Google. These ones are now all pulling back. The only ones that are holding up are the semiconductors. And I talked about looking for a bounce on the semiconductors, especially if the market's going to bounce. These are the ones that are going to lead the markets back towards the upside. So at least for Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, Google, until it has some sort of higher time frame breakout or some news, we're not going to talk about these ones as much. Now let's talk about some of the other tech names that we have here as well. As we do that, yeah, if you guys do have any charts or any tickers, you guys can now drop them in the chat. I'm going to grab some water. I'm actually going to let Walter in here. Okay. Let's go on to a couple tickers here now. We'll start off on some of the major indices here. Sorry, major semiconductors. Micron, this one holding up higher lows. Not really too much to talk about. I explained the game plan a little bit more in depth on the weekly outlook. I also had the YouTube video that I came out with yesterday explaining a little bit more, but higher lows are being built on Micron. We just want to see that push back up in towards all-time highs. Key levels that we have on MU is going to be that previous day highs. We actually have two levels here. We have our previous day highs, which is very key. We also have that 988. I'm going to say this one's a little bit more of a clear level The level that we broke down from also, once we originally broke out, we had nice continuation. So key level here on Micron is our 980 coming into market open. If you want to maintain a bullish bias, right, maintain above that 980 for a pushback up in towards our 1030. The break underneath, we could see a potential like day trade towards the downside. If we get back underneath this 980, we have room back down in towards that previous day close along with that previous day high. So 980 is going to be key here on an MU, at least on a longer term outlook, right? I'm fairly bullish on a couple of these semiconductors. Main ones that I talked about yesterday: MU, Intel, EMD, and of course Marvel. If we're looking at Intel, this is one of my favorite names. Really solid bounce right off that 100 key psych. Friday, nice buyer stepped in. Yesterday, we had some news right before market open. So nice pop here on Intel. Key levels that I have marked out was our previous day highs, which once we got back above, we had a nice pushback towards the upside. If I mark this out, like this whole kind of general area that we broke down from. So nice bounce here on Intel yesterday above that previous day highs back towards the upside. Today, the key level, similar thesis, we're just going to mark out this previous day highs level, 113. So for Intel moving forward, what I'd like to see is buyers step in, right? Higher lows be made for this pushback up in towards, now it's going to be that all-time highs. So for Intel, we've had a lot of consolidation. If we're looking at this on the weekly chart, the weekly's been basing above that 9 EMA. Daily chart is consolidating after having this really nice push towards the upside. We're kind of creating this bigger kind of time frame, a daily wedge pattern, right? Originally, we had the break. We want to see the break above that 10, or sorry, that 130. Now we're just kind of creating this huge daily flag pattern, and now we like to see that push back up in towards our all-time highs. If we're looking at Intel, right, key levels at least intraday here. If we're looking for day trading opportunities, right, previous day highs, we have our previous day lows. If we want to see some upside above our previous day highs, continuation towards the upside here today. Another possible scenario, if it rejects a little bit, the reclaim back above for continuation towards the upside here. I'm not interested in shorting Intel. I know it's been weaker the past couple of weeks, but nice buyers stepped in here on Friday along with yesterday, right? For me to be short bias on Intel, I would have to get underneath, or number one, have to reject off our previous day highs, but I do like shorts a little bit better underneath our previous day lows. We have this gap in the markets. Let's say, for example, the next kind of couple days, we kind of just consolidate. We get underneath our previous day lows. It's not going to set up today, but if we got underneath that previous day lows, then I'd be more inclined for some downside here on Intel. As for SNDK, this one still very much bullish, right? Higher lows, as you can see, building up nicely here on the daily. Keep an eye out on SNDK push back up in towards our gap, plus this all-time highs here. If we're looking at this on the daily, previous day highs, break and retest is going to be key on SNDK for a pushback towards the upside. So we can have this marked out. We can go into Marvel here. Marvel is one of my favorite tickers as well. If we're looking at this on the daily time frame, we had a gap up last week. We came close to that 9 EMA. Now what we like to see is a pushback up in towards our all-time highs. Key levels here on Marvel we have is our double bottom, which is at 260. Yesterday, we had that 280 marked out. This was a key level, multiple touches around this general area. We had a nice break and retest right off that 280 yesterday. Now what we like to see is kind of this downtrend break kind of form here on Marvel. The break above our previous day highs. We can see a potential move back up in towards that all-time highs and above here on Marvel. So let's keep an eye out on that previous day highs break. It's going to be the break above. Now it's 304, multiple touches here yesterday in the pre-market on Friday. The break above that 304 here on Marvel can send this back up in towards that 310 along with that 320 on the higher time frames. All right, with that being said, let's go on to a few other tickers. Qualcomm, this one had a nice initial reaction here, or sorry, had a nice little bounce in the after hours. But the key level on Qualcomm is going to be this previous all-time high. So as you can see here, this is our previous all-time highs. multiple touches, 220. What we like to see now, break above our 220 hold for continuation back towards the upside. So that's going to be key, or sorry, that was our 230. Right now, we are building up higher lows here on Qualcomm. We want to see that break above, retest, continuation back up in towards the all-time highs. So as you can see, a little bit of reaction here in the after hours. The break back above, as I mentioned, for continuation back towards the highs here on Qualcomm. As for a few other tickers, ARM, this one had a nice pullback, filled its daily gap here as well. If we're looking at something like ARM after its initial break towards the upside, key levels that we're going to have marked out, we're going to mark out this daily gap 360, and we have room, which is that 320. Currently, we're starting to consolidate here right around this 340. What we're going to have marked out is this inside bar. So we have an inside bar day here on ARM. So you can mark out Friday's range, you can mark out its previous day's range. If you want to see any sort of continuation higher, the break back above our previous day highs for a push up in towards our 380 and above is in play. So a lot of these tickers do have inside bar days. So something like Qs or SPY, what we're going to have marked out is just our previous day's range. If we can break above our previous day highs, continuation back up in towards our Friday's highs, right? That's our outer bar. Similar thing here with SPY. We're going to mark out that Friday's range. We're going to mark out its previous day's range, break above. We're going to be looking to target the Friday's range here. If we break below the range, then we can look to target the bottom of the range, which would be our 734. So a lot of these tickers, as I mentioned, inside bar days, we're just going to be looking now to break the inside bar to target the outside bar. All right, let's go on to a few other tickers. We have AVGO, this one right at our earnings low. If you want to see a potential flip here on AVGO, back above that 405, push back up and towards that 420 and above here on AVGO. Oracle, this one has earnings coming up, so we're going to be a little bit more patient on this one. We'll see what happens on Wednesday after close. As for Palantir, still kind of stuck in between this range. I'd be a little bit more cautious on something like Palantir. Something like Hood. Yeah, Hood's not really doing too much either. As you can see, higher lows are being built. We want to see the break above this 92 for any sort of continuation here. If we're looking at this on the daily, I'd say we're more consolidating than anything. If we want to see that break above here on Hood, we need to see that break above this 92. So that's going to be key. So far, as you can see, higher lows are being built. Break above our previous day highs. Let's see if we have any sort of potential buyers that step in for continuation higher. You're a good teacher, made me profitable. Awesome to hear. When you day trade, you take weekly options, 0 days or 1 days. A lot of the times, if you're trading the Mag 7, you're gonna have Mondays, Wednesday, Fridays expiration. So usually it's 1 day till expiration or Friday's expiration. If you're trading the SPY and Qs, then you can trade 0 days. Normally, I try and stay away from 0 day contracts and try and buy time. If we're on Friday, then I'll look to trade 0 day contracts. NBIS, this one's pulling back a little bit more here, right? The key level that we have is our 230. Higher lows are still being built on the daily. NBIS, I like to see the break back above, continuation back up in towards our all-time highs. Key levels that we have marked out is our 230. Very key here. We need to see that flip back above for continuation back towards the upside. As for a few other tickers, so a couple names kind of slowly bouncing. WDC still looks really good. Higher lows are being built on this one. So a memory ticker. If we're looking at the memory ETF, DRAM, as you can see, we end up bouncing right off a key level support on Friday. So nice break, retest, continuation, break, retest now, continuation. We like to see this move back towards the upside. So as you can see right here, multiple touches. DRAM, nice bounce on Friday. Yesterday, buyers some stepped in here as well. And now we're currently breaking back above our previous day highs. So for DRAM key level, as you can see, multiple touches. We like to see now the hold above our 61 for continuation back towards the upside here. If we're basing this off the daily time frame, nice bounce right off that 21. What I like to see now is this pushback up in towards that all-time highs, right? So we either have one of two things. We're going to start kind of basing a little bit more. Maybe we pop, kind of consolidate, and then we have that continue push higher. Or we just like to see more so of this kind of V shape back up in towards our all-time highs. So that's what we have coming into today. Yeah, with that being said, the game plan here today is just going to be looking for the break above our previous day highs hold to target that Friday's high. Similar thing here with SPY. Let's see if we can get that break above our previous day highs, next level 450, along with our Friday's highs. The SMH is leading the markets. We're actually above our Friday's highs. So that's why the semiconductors are the strongest. And most of the names that I talked about, AMD, Intel, MU, any name, memory names, or some of the semis, those ones are leading the markets. We're expecting those ones to bounce first compared to everything else. So yeah, with that being said, I'm going to call it a day here. The main watches, we'll keep an eye on Tesla, AMD above our previous day highs, MU above that 980, Intel above our previous day highs here as well. And then a bunch of the other semiconductors are shaping up fairly nicely. We're going to keep an eye on the break and retest above our previous day highs. Keep an eye on Marvel here as well. So Marvel, basically the main watches that I talked about yesterday, AMD, and then we'll also talk about Tesla here as well. 15-minute order to manage your trades. Oh, if I'm swing trading, I'm going to manage it on the 15-minute and hourly time frame. Sometimes even the daily chart if I want to give it a little bit more wiggle room. Just signed up for the ebook. Yeah, don't worry, you'll have more messages coming up fairly soon. If you just recently signed up for the ebook, we'll have some more emails being sent out. How long is your average hold time on the options? Depending if I'm day trading or swing trading. Day trading, it can be anywhere between a couple minutes to maybe 30 minutes. Usually it's kind of skewed because I'll hold some trailers. So if I hold like 5 to 10%, sometimes I'll hold it until end of day, or maybe I might hold it for a couple days. So the actual hold time, I don't think is a really good representation, just because I might have a very small open position with a couple of contracts remaining. Select strike price. Strike price is just going to be one out the money. If I'm swing trading, it's going to be the target. So if I'm day trading, usually it's one out the money or most volume. As for swing trading, I'm going to look for my targets as my strike prices. So yeah, that's going to be it for me today. I'm going to call it a day here. Hopefully you guys did enjoy that. If you did, appreciate if you guys drop a like and sub. If you guys haven't joined the ebook or the free watch list, that of course is in the description below. That being said, I'll see you guys all tomorrow. All right, take care everyone. Peace.